Well, hello everyone. This is Rhonda's lovely sparks. Yes, I am back with something quite fascinating, uh, which is called Project 2025. And when I say fascinating, I'm not saying good. It's not in a good way. It's horrific. And this has nothing to do with being over emotional or scared. Now, honestly, we should be emotional and very afraid. But it's not me trying to manipulate people. That's not my style. I've had a lot of times in my life where there was always temptation and I was never tempted. It's nothing I'm going to gain from spreading lies and unnecessary things. The reason why I understand this Project 2025 so well is that my husband is a war historian. And he's always teaching me, and I'm always learning from him about war. And then let's say I have some experience about history. I'm not a historian, but there's some things you learn, especially when it comes to learning about Black history, American history, the history of insurrections, the history of racism, the history of our Jewish people and what they've been through, the history of the battle of religions and what also Israel and Pakistan is going through, and then Ukraine, and the list goes on and on. But with that being such a long list, I'm just going to limit this to this list of 25 things you should know about Project 2025. 25. And I've read some pages. I'm going to finish reading over 900 pages of this. But I've started off by just reading some highlights. I started off by watching the DNC and learning some things at the DNC. And also, I've learned some things watching the RNC. And to be honest with you, I've learned some things by watching the RNC that I don't like. I've read about COINTELPRO, which is about, uh, you all look that up, COINTELPRO, and I always mention this in my lives, and it talks about an approved government program that was spying into, and certain programs, especially more Black programs, but if it was any program that they labeled as communist, they were being harassed and spied into. Listen to all the conversations. I mean, just a whole lot of BS. We can call it easily BS today. However, it was very real, especially when they used and threw the word around communism. Uh, well, I know in my YouTube channel, there is a lot of differences of generations here when it comes to age. And we have a very high number of 20-year-olds, 18 to 20-year-olds, to 25 to 35s, 40s, 65s, men and women. What that means is that my dream has come true in having a channel that's diversity in culture and age. And it means also to me that I have so much material, 8 years old, and a lot of these basically witnessed. Um, and it's so strange how they call the birthday that I was in is vintage. I'm like, what? The Michael Jackson is somebody who's vintage. It just happens to the best of us, right? But I'm going to go down this list because All this is relating to what I'm talking about when it comes to history, when it comes to history repeating itself, when it comes to how historically in our great old American history that when a government becomes broken, then there's a lot of infighting. And infighting with the broken part is that you have MAGA that is not in agreement with Republican, and you have Republican that's not in agreement with MAGA. And so I knew, being my age, that something was going to happen pretty bad out of this. It wasn't going to be pretty. And I'm not the only Democrat that sits here and go, you know what? I'm so glad. But what also I have learned, what comes with broken government are wars. Do we say, is it about damn time? Well, I don't want to be leisure about this because we want to feel that wars are different than they used to be. And let's say that with MAGA and this lynching, them calling out lynching of their people of their complexion, but they are outsiders because they don't agree. They're rhinos, which they call AKA old head Republicans. You know, if anybody remembers, Trump did not want to run under the Republican Party. Republicans talked to him, begged him. They thought they found the great hope of their party and found out this MFer has thrown them under the bus. What this means is that history repeats itself, and anytime there is a broken government, and that means when people are very riled up and we're not going back, that there's going to be some clashing. And even if there's some people out there that have AR-15s and made these threats and this and that and this and that, take it serious. Because I have to say, unfortunately, our young kids should not be privy to this radicalism. But they are. They are exposed and they are so freaking confused. And they're out there also with mental health problems in a very dysfunctional family that's doing some things that are about hurting someone else and unaliving them versus in seeing if there's hope anywhere for rescue, for help. All of this has politics to do with. And what that means, I remember clearly in the George Bush days when I was working for the government, that they cut back on a lot of government jobs. They were against big government. We got to cut back on these services and social services and child protective services employees and Department of Human Services and for food stamps and housing. And we're going to cut back on the post office employment. And we're going to cut back on big government. And you just have to pay attention to the language because the language I'm hearing is very familiar. Thank God that when I was born in the 60s, when I was a little girl, I was alive. But my mom and dad protected me because there was a lot of turmoil in Kansas City, Missouri, when it came to the assassinations of John F. K., Robert Kennedy, Dr. Martin Luther King, and so many great people before them. You see that we're not going back. And that language means that we are not going to settle. And how this works is to understand what you don't know. It's why I'm up. Well, I haven't been asleep yet. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Hi, I'm Rhonda, and I'm from Texas. Welcome to Rhonda's Lovely Sparks. Mash that like button and subscribe because you don't have to agree with me, and it feels great when you do. But my YouTube channel is also promotes differences and having uncomfortable conversations and how to make those conversations comfortable when we talk about race. Because if you don't want to talk about race, you will fall behind. If you don't want to talk about politics, you will fall behind. And when you fall behind, how are you going to answer that question? When your kids come to you, when your grandchildren come to you, when your best friend, when someone close to you asks you questions about why did this kid do this in this school, they're going to ask you one day, what side of history was you on? How did you vote? And why? The question is, or the answer is, are you going to have answers? Is that a question? Will you have any answers? Are you going to look really stupid? Because guess what? Our kids are very smart today. And no matter what's going on with them, they're overloaded. They're overloaded with so much that there is no processing it, especially with this young kid that there was a shooting in Georgia. And I know all this going on with guns and when there is a narrative going on with the Republicans having some arguments that are probably understandable. But what's unfair is that they pick and choose what to say to what media. Well, Mark Levin, we're going to say this over there. But over here in CNN, we're going to say that. It's not a clear message because they don't want to put out clear messaging. Republicans don't want to put out clear messaging because they know that when there is a small bubble that they want to keep and grow and call that America and anyone else outside of that box is not American, then guess what? You will fall victim to Project 2025. And your sister, your girl right here is going to break this down for you. 25 things to know. Are you ready? Get you some water. It's the people who wrote Project 2025 have it on their website. I am not lying. I am not spreading misinformation. And anyone out there preaching that ish about Project 2025 and putting out BS about this, then don't have to argue with them. You go into Heritage Foundation and look it up and read it for yourself. And if you don't want to read it, I'm going to give you 25 things that's jumped out in my head. Cat hair. Sorry. I'm like, oh my God, cat hair. Yes, we have fur babies, 5 of them. We love our fur babies. Mine, especially this year, I need my emotional support animals more than ever. Sorry about the pause. Going in and out, the pause in the video and all of this because I live in a country and you know how that goes. It depends how the wind is blowing. It depends on the temperature. It depends on a bird that lands on a line the wrong way. Blah 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 blah. And then guess what? Things just start screwing up. So I'm gonna work through this without being scared, but a level head, and read this to you. Now I'm going to post also where I've actually find this information so you can look it up for yourself. And guess what? If you don't like or don't want to believe what I'm saying, I'm not trying to get believers. I have such a big job right now out there just being a grandma and a wife and a mother of 2 grown daughters. But I'm going to give you some resources because I don't know if anyone else is doing this. Like giving you things to look up. So you can kind of see that what I sent you was It looks pro-Democrat, right? So I send that to you, but also I'm going to send you heritage.org, which is the company who put together the Project 2025, because they're not ashamed of this whatsoever. It's made for the public. It's made for the public. They're not ashamed. And people who are Republican and they're talking about it and they're for it, sometimes you can go, dang, how come this person is black and they supporting it? That's a whole nother video. It's a whole nother video. But it could have a lot to do with when it comes to whatever inequalities that they experience being a black person, or how they are so caught up, in other people's business that when they're in line at the grocery store and someone's paying for their food with food stamps and someone's behind them and said, I can't believe that they have Nestle's Crunch in the grocery cart. Oh my God. Oh my God. A ribeye steak. And I can't afford that. So I'm mad. I mean, like Tim Waltz said, none of your damn business. Get from off under or god dang it skirts. Get out of my and just get out of my business, as Tim Waltz says, our vice presidential uh, candidate who's running with Kamala. When she becomes president, Tim Waltz will be our vice president. That's what he said. None of your business. Get out of my business, basically. So let's get to this. 25 things to know about Project 2025. And what it says here is tell us you're all in to fight back against Project 2025. Sign up below. So I sent the link on my YouTube channel in the chat where you can sign up. I just signed up today because it's the first time I've heard about a website called www.majorityovermaga.org. I posted it in my chat. www.majorityovermaga.org. And in this, if you want to read along with me, I'm going to share with you. The website provides a cheat sheet to Trump's authoritarian playbook. Doesn't that sound easy? Then reading 900 pages, blah, 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 which I'm like a quarter through. Just a quarter. I got a long way to go, but that's how I read the George Floyd act that we've been trying to pass for a while. It's very lengthy, and my husband and I fully read that. But this is called a cheat sheet to Trump's authoritarian playbook to defeat Project 2025. We have to know what's in it. We know not everyone is going to read the 900-page playbook for extremism. So here's a cheat sheet to help you educate your community on this dangerous plan for a second Trump turn. Now, let me remind you about something. There are Republicans who are against this. There are Republicans who are against Trump. And these are like the George Bushes. These are Republicans. These are people who are former pilots or assistants or served under Reagan and George Bush. These people, they're having a fit. Tea Party was a tease, aggravated, agitated the Republicans. And then you had MAGA. And you have this MAGA-like extremist uproar and growth around the world. It's not just America. You all know about Mussolini. You know about these extreme leaders. Don't sleep on it. You have Italy. You have Britain. You have people from around the world who love Trump. And they love that playbook he has. And this is the playbook that also Republicans are flipping. They're like, oh, hell no. Because there's a couple of things there they don't like. They don't like you talking about the veterans. They feel that there's some things about guns that they can tweak. They feel there's some things about immigration that they can tweak. But this is too extreme. Are y'all ready? All right, let's get it on. Magus playbook for a new Trump term. Number one, Project 2025 is a 900-page playbook for Republicans next year if they gain power. And it's focused on attacking our rights, giving handouts to billionaires and corporations, and undermining your vote. Here in the state of Texas, billionaires control the government. So if you see Greg Abbott, trust me, if he doesn't comply with what the billionaires tell him to do, those little talking points and the template, he's out. So there's a lot of ass kissing in the Republican Party. Number two, Project 2025 would ban public sector unions and allow states to ban labor unions entirely, ending your right to organize in the workplace. Number three, government services that keep us safe would be gone, including basics like weather alerts that warn us of dangerous storms and clean air and water programs. Number four, Trump's Project 2025 would ban medication abortion, effectively ending access to abortion for millions of Americans. Number five, the plan says that any books, movies, and TV shows that include LGBTQ plus content or characters are pornographic. Let me read this again. The plan says that any books and movies and TV shows that include LGBTQ plus content or characters are pornographic. Number six, it calls for a total and complete ban on porn. Now we could sit there and go, oh, I don't, we don't watch porn, blah, 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 blah. The point is, can you imagine that you're surfing the internet and they call them spiders or bugs or whatever and spam? And let's say, per se, there's some confusion and then some robot ends up reading this incorrectly. You weren't in a porn site, but somehow spam or something. Can you imagine you going to jail or something happening to you because the bot said that you committed a crime? Number seven, they plan to dissolve the Department of Education entirely and end enforcement of laws guaranteeing special education programs for students. Number eight, Project 2025 strips protections away from women and LGBTQ people in education and the workplace, putting millions at risk of targeting and worse. Number nine, Project 2025 gives states the right to ignore overtime, minimum wage, and child labor laws. Number 10, it would end all student loan forgiveness programs, including for public service, and some folks would see their loan payments double. See, people are asking, well, how are people paying for this and that? Well, honestly, it is to punish middle class and the poor. And not going to raise taxes on the wealthy. I mean, my taxes are 38 point something percent, while rich people are paying less than 8 point something percent. I mean, when you want them to pay their fair share on taxes. Um, Project 2025 eliminates laws and protect against racial discrimination. Listen now. Project 2025 eliminates laws that protect against racial discrimination in housing, the labor market, and schools, ending protections that have been in place for decades. The MAGA plan wants to make you pay new taxes on your employer, provided health insurance coverage, and sharply raise taxes on the middle class working families. Project 2025 strips away access to sex education for students, instead, instructing federal programs to teach abstinence only approaches. Number 14, Project 2025 implements what's called the unitary executive model, and it puts the entire government and all three branches under the control of one person, the president. Social Security, Medicare, and nutrition assistance programs are all targeted for big cuts or elimination. Number 16, they want to get rid of price caps on life-saving drugs like insulin and asthma inhalers. Number 17, Project 2025 calls for cutting or eliminating social safety net programs, raising taxes on the middle class, and giving huge tax cuts to the ultra wealthy. Number 18, under Project 2025's plan, Trump would have the legal right to fire any civil servant or government employee who he thought wasn't sufficiently loyal to MAGA. Yeah, I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. I gave you some links to do your own research. I mean, y'all are savvy. That Trump would have the legal right to fire any civil servant or government employee who he thought wasn't sufficiently loyal to MAGA. Number 19, adoption and foster care agencies would be legally allowed to discriminate against gay or non-Christian families looking to adopt. Number 20, they want to eliminate the Head Start program, which serves over 1 million families annually. Number 21, Project 2025 calls for raising the eligibility age for Social Security, effectively reducing benefits by tens of thousands of dollars per person. Number 22, they want to end oil and gas drilling restrictions, including on our public lands. Number 23, Project 2025's plan would eliminate HIPAA privacy protections for abortion, helping creepy Republican zealots in anti-abortion states to track and target those who leave the state to access care. Number 24, there's a huge overlap between Trump staffers and the creators and co-sponsors of the plan. CNN has identified over 140 different people who worked for Trump and also played a role in creating or endorsing the transition plan. Number 25, Trump has repeatedly praised both the Heritage Foundation and the authors of the Project 2025 playbook and said that they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do if he's re-elected. That's 25. If you have missed it, please check out the replay. And it is a cheat sheet. Instead of reading 900 pages, there's 25 items. Imagine what's in the 900 pages. It also speaks about Project 2025 explained. And all it takes is to vote and make a difference. I know that people like me have been asking people to vote my as long as I can remember. And we're always saying at every election, we're saying, oh my God, this is desperate. We're destituted. We're desperate. We have to do it or else. Those are not lies. It's true. We have to really, and there's also a download. You can download a copy on here for free. Of course, if you got a copy machine or if your apartment complex or somebody can print those pages, I don't know if they're going to approve 900. But somebody out there can send a copy, but you can get a PDF copy if you don't want a printed copy. You can't afford it. It's PDF, okay? Where you can read it yourself. Magus fascist Playboy. Oh boy. Well, I'm so upset. I'm thinking about Playboy, and it's called Playbook. I guess it is like Playboy, right? It's playing with your feelings and your emotions. The playbook for a new Trump term. Donald Trump's first term was destructive, cruel, and for far too many, literally fatal. However, the impact of those 4 years was only a sample of what the MAGA movement sought to accomplish, owning in large part to persistent opposition from the pro-democracy majority and the fact that Trump and his allies frequently had no idea what they were doing. If he wins the White House in 2024, the latter will not be the case, and a new Trump administration already has a 900-page playbook prepared to remake the federal government into a tool for their agenda of white Christian nationalism and political revenge called Project 2025. It is extreme, it is dangerous, and it is real. Okay, let me see who's in the chat room. Yay! So, yes, Lola, I am still up. Lola, hot sauce. Are you so hot early in the morning in California, eh? And then we got the tea lounge. Hey, baby. Howdy. Howdy from Texas. I just send love and joy to everybody out there. Oh, my God. Thank y'all. Yes, I'm still up. I've done 2 lives. And this is another live, which I was like, calling out the 25 list. It's more than that. It's 900 pages long, a Project 2025, and kind of breaking down in more simpler form of basically what this means. And if elected, Trump will fill his administration with architects of Project 2025 and give them free rein to weaponize the Department of Justice, ban abortion nationwide, and dismantle the institutions of our democracy. This playbook directs Trump to seize unprecedented powers immediately, and he'll now be able to do so with new immunity granted to the presidency by the Supreme Court. Immunity means he'll never have to be held accountable for all those wrongdoings that he's been going to court for. He can just do whatever and be a lifetime president. What, you haven't slept yet? Make sure you get your rest in. Okay, I will. I promise. Thank you so much, Tea Lounge. This playbook directs Trump to seize unprecedented powers immediately, and he'll now be able to do so with new immunity granted to the presidency by the Supreme Court, because guess what? He stacked the courts, and he stacked the Supreme Court. That means they're going to be loyal for Trump. This is what they've been working on. This may all sound like a bad dystopian fiction, but it's the reality we face. Far-right operatives and shadowy think tanks are preparing right now to launch an assault on our rights and values on day one of a new Trump term. This is a red alert moment. Donald Trump alone is dangerous enough, but this plan makes the stakes of the 2024 election beyond comparison. Read on to find out more about this Project 2025. And so the first thing I did, I gave like a cheat sheet of 25 items that points out some extreme things, which it's more than that. It's 900 pages. And the next one I gave like a summary of what, how to explain to people what is Project 2025. And there is another thing I would like to share with you about how to talk about Project 2025. How to talk about it. And it says Project 20, and this will give us some tools on how to talk about it, how to learn some things, and how to have a language, or even just, keep it to yourself, and understand it more. Project 2025 is an initiative by the Conservative Heritage Foundation to remake the federal government under a new Trump term. You remember Trump always bragged and shouted out how he doesn't like the Declaration of Independence and all the laws are put in place already. He wants to change that to extremism, radical extremism. This group outlined their agenda in a 900-page document that includes instructions for a full MAGA takeover of the executive branch. Can y'all hear me? Hear me use the word takeover? It gives instructions. That's what Project 2025 is, for a full MAGA takeover of the executive branch. We need to keep Project 2025 in the front of voters' minds this year. And the policies in this authoritarian playbook aren't just unpopular, they're toxic and authoritarian. Voters need to know this, that this is the Trump agenda, and they have the power to stop it. It's by a simple vote. I sent the text and posted it or sent in the chat some links of Heritage Foundation, which is the foundation who implemented the 900-page takeover of America. I also sent a link if you want to put your name in it, your email address, and get some newsletters to keep yourself up to date. I posted that as well. Also, in that same link, there is a PDF format that will break down, that has nothing to do with Democrats, that the Heritage Foundation put together. And it's there in PDF. They're bragging about it. Obviously, they feel proud enough that they can put it out there in the open. I mean, can we really say that they've been always planning this? Yes. Can we also say that It's always been in our face. Yeah. I mean, we have so many people out there that's so used to the kind of television that we have with a lot of violence and hearing this breaking news all the time, and the games that are played are realistic, things like that. The games, um, PlayStation, things like that. Not being negative because my grandson loves certain games. But what happens sometimes you can be so immune, and can you tell the difference? Can they tell the difference between reality and what's fantasy? What's a cartoon? Not really. I mean, I've seen some stuff like Sims. I've seen some stuff that looks very real. And if I was that age looking at that stuff, my mind would be incredibly blown. Hell, when I learned how to type in the seventh grade, I thought that was mind blowing using a manual typewriter. And then the next year we got electric typewriters. So I learned how to type on a manual typewriter. That was mind blowing. I can't imagine my poor little pea picking head trying to absorb that shit back then. But it's there. It's realistic. And then we could say, well, what happened with the shooting? People say, how did that kid get in there? And this and that. When we've been screaming and crying and talking about gun laws. I mean, look, I'm from Texas. We do love our guns, but understand that there is a different mindset. We're not like what the MAGA says they want the guns for, and walking around with AR-15s and da 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 da, and intimidation at, voting polls and at rallies and all this BS. It's a bunch of crock of shit. But when I grew up, and I grew up around guns, and my dad always had a double barrel shotgun and a 22 behind the door. Seriously, it was behind the door. We knew not to touch it. He would probably get in trouble today not having it locked up. But I'm just trying to share with you the mindset back in my day when I was younger. It was always behind the door. And we were taught if it's behind the door, that's for our security. If something happens, my dad taught me how to target practice. So the point I'm trying to make is all this BS excuses of why these people are fighting to keep AR-15s and don't have any background checks, yet this kid comes into school because guess what? They're from a community that, not saying that necessarily the people there are voting for it, but let's say some leaders, or when it comes to the Supreme Court of the state, that are being loyal oppositionists when it comes to these laws that puts up for schools more better protections like security. What they say, the teachers are wearing some kind of button or some kind of alert thing, and then it went off in this school in Georgia. And when the alert went off, it alerted the police department. But then they said, well, we need to give teachers guns. I mean, what they're lacking, what they don't care to understand is that there's some dysfunctional ass government employees and teachers too. So why are we going to be doing that? They're not thinking like that. Unfortunately, there are some teachers having an affair with kids. I mean, they got just lack of good judgment. You're going to give that person a gun if they know they're not supposed to be sleeping with a student? I mean, we can go on and on with the arguments, but just to simplify it, you mean you can't tell me that we can't put some extra security when it comes to keeping people from just walking in a school with an AR-15? This has nothing to do with Democrat and Republican. This shit is foul. It's foul. It's foul because it's happening all the time. And it's happening so much is that when we see the news and we go, again? There are things that can be put in place without giving a teacher a damn gun, because those jobs have been cut back to have some legitimate security, somebody there that's trained to know what the fuck they're doing, that the jobs have been cut back because they don't want big government. And then guess what? There's nobody in place that's legitimate to protect the kids. So you have a bunch of loofers or somebody that's retired that's probably too old to run. And I'm not against people who are getting old. Don't be hating on me. I'm just saying, because the funds have been cut back for schools. I mean, teachers ain't getting paid worth of shit. Especially, they don't get paid dealing with this, with their life being taken. Two teachers, what, they jumped on top of the kids to protect the kids and they were unalived. And we have this a gorgeous little black kid and a gorgeous, I don't know if he was a Hispanic kid. The point is, we had two children. We have two adults that have been unalived by a kid whose mother is a meth head. Don't know what daddy's doing. Seems like a meth head community, obviously, because his aunt was online typing her ass off. I mean, dysfunctional like a mug. And guess what the dumbass aunt did? She put in the text saying, you know what? Whatever happened to the school, those people at the school, so many words, they deserve it. Don't quote me verbatim. I'm just saying, you all go check that out. The father was arrested. Oh, really? So T Lounge says that the father was arrested. Thank you for the update, because I've been sleeping most of the day because I was up all night. And I was watching the game between the Chiefs and the Ravens. Go Chiefs, but I'm a Cowboys fan. I remember they said something, and I know the news has progressed excessively since I saw it last night because your girl couldn't sleep. That they had a problem out of this kid a year ago. Oh, that was in their face. I mean, when do we get to a point where, what do we have to do to just stop this from happening? People, whether you like it or not, you got to vote, because it's how our good old United States of America is made. Peaceful protesting is good, but you have to vote, because it's how the standard of how our judiciary system is created, built, and made. And there's no going around that. It's not. Unless we're lucky to get Kamala and Waltz in office, and then maybe we can like win the House and then win the Senate, and then we could really put in some laws that has been sitting on the desk of some presidents, and because they can't pass it because you have loyal opposition of the Republican Party, so it sits on the desk. So a Democrat is forced to pass executive order, and people are like, well, damn, they pass executive order. That they ain't doing nothing for me, but it's an executive order, which means it's temporary. It's not the law of the land. So when you vote people in office, and then we can have a Democrat House, a Democrat Senate, and we get them motherfuckers to like agree on something, because you know Obama had that in the second term, and them motherfuckers, was it first term? First term, they didn't do shit, and you had Democrats that was, wearing Republican act looking like Democrats, but they were Republican minded, and that held up a lot of Obama's ability to do a lot, even though he did a lot, because he signed some executive orders, which are temporary. It's complicated. It's complicated, but it's real. And I'm a grandmother, and I damn for sure don't want to hear about no shooting at my grandkids' schools. You know how frightening that is? My grandkids are in school, two different schools. One's elementary, one's junior high. And I got grandbabies in Georgia. And I have great grandbabies. Do you know how that put chills on me? That is just not TV, that it can happen anywhere, anytime. Not just on the black side of town, not just across the railroad tracks, and not just in Chicago or LA or just in Texas, but anywhere in this country, where the rich, where the poor, where the educated, It's just a problem everywhere. And then you have Republicans who are wanting to demand separation because during the George Bush days, they passed a law to make every church nonprofit. But I'm not through. In their large churches, they have private school and private daycare. How effing convenient is that? They got a gym, basketball court. They have some have swimming pools in a church, written off as nonprofit, but not everybody is encouraged to go there to swim and get daycare, childcare, coat for kids, scholar, whatever. They're just not, because they open it up in these big churches to separate themselves from public schools. They found a way that they're not making it public knowledge for anybody to know. Shh. It used to be something like Project 2025 would never be talked about in the open, for God's sake, in a PDF form, right? It's always been a Project 2025. This is more like in our face. It's always been a Project 2025. Always. It's just we have Democrats who've been fighting against it. But now seeing this in 900 pages tells you that this is a plan that they're wanting to make transparent, that they want to move forward, and they are really trying to ignite their base so they can get those people who are sitting on the couch to vote Republican. And God knows the ones who are Black and Democrat, bless your little pea-picking hearts. Bless your little pea-picking hearts. But as history tells us, that there are always going to be a percentage of people who are non-believers. I mean, Moses had them. I mean, Moses told them motherfuckers there's going to be... I'm just saying, I know I cuss when I use the Bible. I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. Noah told everybody, hey, I'm building an ark here. You know, the whole world is going to be flooded. I mean, come on, get on board. And you had naysayers, right? They didn't get on the boat. That's how it is in our politics today, is that there's going to be a lot of people that are just not going to get on the boat. So I tell you all, don't be stupid like that person or this person. And just read it for yourself and find out the truth. I also did a live before this one. It's posted and it's under new live streams on the front of my page, where I talk about a former MAGA grandma who was at the January 6th insurrection, who was sentenced for 60 days in a prison. And she's now saw the light, and she's helping Kamala in her campaign. Check that out. It's me playing it on my Apple iPad, and it's her talking, and she's getting asked questions, and you'll see it there. Trump called her the MAGA grandma. She's like, oh, no, I don't want my name out there. She's like, done. And then she gives some examples and reasons why she was there January 6th and what she's doing now and how she got caught up in the matrix. So check that out. And also thank you all for listening. I appreciate you all support. Smash that like, and I'll be back with a book reading tonight. And I'll see you soon.